Meher. How are you?
I am good, Mandana. How are you?
I'm good. It's so good to have you here. Thank you for taking the time. Before we start, I wanted to, uh, for you to tell us more about Meher and the grief coaching. What does it mean, and how did you come in this field?
Okay, first of all, I have to thank you, Mandana, for letting me in this space and letting me come here and talk about my journey. Thank you so much for that. So, yeah, I am Meher. I'm a grief coach, and my life took a transformative turn after my husband's sudden cardiac arrest 4 years ago.
Hmm.
And that was the time when, well, it was definitely a life-changing incident for me and my children. And after that, there were a lot of changes, a lot of things that we had to adapt to. And during all that time, I found that I was like very desperate to seek emotional support, which was, well, let's just the fact of the matter is that emotional support is not as much available for people who are grieving a loss, whatever the reason may be. So that was a point in my life when I realized that something needs to be done. And when I was actively seeking emotional support, I came across the concept of grief coaching, which really resonated with me. And the thing is that I started out grief coaching myself. And I found it to be a very effective mode of coping with grief and moving forward because it's particularly beneficial for those who feel stuck, overwhelmed, and uncertain about their next steps after they have faced a loss. Like I said, whatever the reason may be.
Hmm.
And it provides compassionate accountability and well, it is very different from therapy because while therapy delves into the past and one goal of therapy is to diagnose a mental illness, coaching does none of these. Coaching is all about moving forward with the guidance, the support, the practical strategies to help navigate life after loss.
Hmm.
So, well, me as a grief coach, I help clients recognize that grief is not something that you get over, but it is something that you integrate into your lives. And this I do through conversations, through reflective exercises, and personalized coping techniques so that I can empower these individuals to move forward at their own pace.
Lovely, lovely. It sounds amazing. Well, how would I mm, define grief? Like, if it is something that you're, of course, a loss is a simple thing, like we can understand all grief in that. But
Yeah.
do you think there's other ways of grieving and other means of, like, a loss, maybe a marriage breaking up, or the a business going down, or some things that we all understand, but we don't think it is going to affect us emotionally so strongly, but it does. And I feel like that's a misconception that I would like to understand more about. So, what do you have to say, Meher? How do you define it?
First of all, I have to say, Mandana, it's a beautiful question. And I think everyone really needs to listen to what I'm about to say. Is that grief is it's inherently the universal response of loss, of losing something, and that something can be anything. Like we usually associate grief with someone's passing away, but it's actually the emotional, the physical, and the mental response to any kind of loss.
Mm.
And it can stem from the loss of relationships, from the loss of identity, loss of health, even loss of dreams. So, this and well, like you said, part of the question was that it has can different types of forms. Like if we are anticipating a certain maybe incident to happen, that there can be anticipatory grief, like which happens before a loss, and then it can be complicated grief, where emotions they remain intense for an extended time, making us difficult to function like normal human beings. Then there can be cumulative grief, where let's just say multiple losses stack up over time. So
Mm.
each type of grief is valid, and it requires different kind of support. But one very common misconception about grief is that it has a timeline. That you should have to be over it in a certain time. No, that's not true because everyone deals with grief in a different way. There is no timeline. You can deal with it maybe in a few months and maybe spend your lifetime grieving. That's absolutely okay. And it doesn't follow a schedule. So healing is not about moving on, but it's about moving forward while carrying the love and the memories of the thing that you have lost with you. And one other very strong misconception, which I personally hate, is that you're supposed to be strong about something. You know, when you have lost something,
Uh-huh.
people always come up and say, "Be strong, be strong." Then why? Not being strong is being vulnerable. It's part of the human experience. That's okay. So all these things are they're very well there when a person is grieving, but we need to connect with them. We need to understand them more. We need to talk about them more.
Yeah, I think talking, of course, is a very important aspect of it, and I think processing it. I think we don't process it. So again, I think the next question would be, what are the most effective techniques that you think, or strategies that one can apply or understand how to do them? Because I do feel that it's not something that you can. So sorry. So it's not something that you can, but you can just put aside. But how does one, like, dealing with it and feeling it, like not just letting it pass? I think that's something that I really feel one does get stuck in it only if you have not processed it, if you've not sat down or done the thinking, the bitter thinking, the painful process. So tell me more about Meher, like, because we are doing a workshop and we are going to ask people to experience and feel all those emotions. So what is the technique?
Okay. First of all, Manana, I believe that it begins by making the grieving person feel that they're in a safe and non-judgmental space where they can feel truly heard. Because, like you just mentioned, speaking up about grief is extremely important. You don't have to keep the emotions bottled up till the time where you can't take it anymore. No, that simply does not have to happen. But unfortunately, this is exactly what many of us do. The first response is ignoring it. That is definitely not the thing to be done. We need to be able to access a safe and non-judgmental space where we can come, where we can find like-minded people, where we can share our thoughts, and we can speak up about our experience, what we are feeling, what we are going through. The thing is that, there's certain cliches attached to grief also. It's often met with discomfort from others. I mean, most of the time, when I am in a mood to talk about my grief, maybe the other person is not willing to
Uh,
listen to it.
yeah.
That's a very common scenario.
Yes, and
So
actually,
finding
same household can be processing the same thing different ways, and it gets very to, yeah.
exactly. The thing is that every person processes grief in a totally different way. So the thing is that first you need that human connection with this person, this space, this group where you can talk about it, and where you are being listened, where the individuals are being allowed to express freely without the pressure to move on or stay strong or any of these things. None of it. And secondly, one very important thing, being mindfulness, bringing your attention, bringing your focus to this present moment. Because, well, more often than not, whatever we are grieving about, it happened in the past. It
Mm.
means that it has happened. But today, what I'm doing, I'm just sitting here and grieving on something that occurred in the past. So, what I'm going to do, what I need to do is I need to bring my attention to the now and seeing how my life has changed because I have to look at life today with a different perspective. And that is only possible when I bring my attention to now. And well, there are certain techniques. Of course, you know more than me that meditation is a very good technique to ground yourself in the present moment. Meditation and breath work, both of these things. And they play a key role in helping individuals navigate overwhelming emotions. And because grief can pull people out of their past and maybe they can make them anxious about their future, making it difficult for them to stay in the present. But through breathing exercises and mindful awareness, so people can be helped to process this emotion and allowing them to feel these emotions without judgment.
Of course.
And Yeah. Another important technique is connecting with nature. Like,
Mm,
take long walks. It's
mm.
lovely. It's great to be surrounded by nature, by feeling that fresh air in your lungs and seeing all the birds and the plants and the greenery and everything. This really helps process grief in a gentle, intuitive way. And spending time outdoors, like walking barefoot on grass, sitting by the water, or even maybe, I don't know, tending to plants if someone is into this hobby. So
Yes.
this reminds people of life's rhythms and the interconnectedness of all things. And other than this, journaling can be a very effective technique. Like people can write about whatever they are feeling, even if, like if they don't want to express it, if they don't want to say it out aloud in front of another person, they can write in. And I always tell this to people that by writing, I don't really want you to, start writing it on a paper. Maybe or maybe not. You can start writing notes on your phone
Yeah.
and come back to them later after a week or so.
Yeah.
This will give you a little bit of insight on what your thought process is. Like if I was thinking something a week ago, maybe I'm at a different place today, and if I read what I wrote 1 week ago, that is going to give me some perspective, and I can write questions like, how am I feeling today? What is the most difficult part of this journey? What is triggering for me? All these things, like, these are the small little things that can definitely make a lot of impact on a person who is grieving.
So, okay, so what advice would you give to someone who is basically stuck in that emotion? Like, I do feel that we have as a capacity as human beings to not find a way out or not find your own solutions, but just get get in that pattern of feeling that whatever is going down is gone down and now life is over, and so that negative thinking that really brings us down. I feel like, what do you think can be, how can we help someone to be unable to move forward?
Mandana, my one and only answer to this question is prioritize self care.
Oh
This
wow.
is the first and foremost thing that we can do for ourselves, for
Mm.
our life, for our grief journey, for the people around us, for everything about us. And this is the thing that we neglect the most.
Yes, of course, because we don't
We
even
don't
know
care
how
about
to
ourselves.
do it. We don't know how, what is self-love. We really generally, if I ask people, they will say, we don't know what that means. It's certainly not many pedicure.
Of course,
Generally,
of course it's not.
I do feel the understanding is very little, and I think there's so much information overload now. There's so much to understand now that I feel like, there's so many layers that people can go into and find the right. So, what would you say? What is the difference between coaching and therapy? Because yeah, people accept therapy to some extent. There are people who now accept that, but मुझे लगता है कोचिंग का अभी भी नहीं है अंडरस्टैंडिंग. What can you tell me more about coaching, or what's the difference between the therapy and coaching?
Okay. Okay. The key difference between coaching and therapy, Mandana, like particularly is in the context of grief. It lies in their approach, focus, and purpose. So the therapy, the concept that people are familiar with, therapy and coaching are two different modules, totally different.
Hmm.
Like their modus operandi is totally different. Therapy is primarily focused on healing the past, helping individuals process deep emotional wounds, unsolved trauma, mental health conditions which may arise from grief. And whereas grief coaching, on the other hand, it's more future focused and action oriented. It's
Hmm.
rather than diagnosing or treating mental conditions, a grief coach helps individuals navigate life after loss, providing tools and guidance and strategies to integrate grief into their daily lives in a healthy way. So coaching is about empowerment, setting goals, and taking micro steps to achieve them, and personal growth, and creating a new sense of purpose rather than delving into past trauma. So it's especially useful for, I believe, that for those people who are functioning but feeling stuck, like just like I mentioned, like struggling to redefine their identity after loss, or needing support to take meaningful steps.
Okay.
So I would say that they serve different purposes, but they definitely complement each other.
Hmm.
And people who are going through emotional pain and trauma, they can also benefit from coaching because coaching will help them set goals, build new routines in everyday life, like small little changes that you can make in your life that are definitely going to improve the life quality. And they can also find ways in this process, like while they're being coached on grief, they can find ways to honor their loved one or something, whatever they have lost, while continuing their life journey. So, yeah, this is a very important question that you have asked.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, Meher. I think most one few more questions I find like how can I identify that there is someone going through that process of grief? Like how would I know? Are there signs? Are there some things like I feel like I've come across people depression, anxiety, stress, anger. um I do they have something to do with grief, or what? How would you define something that can be like when we can see people, meet them, we can tell them, yeah, you need a grieving coach, go through that. So what do you think is are the what you call it, the certain signs?
Okay, first of all, I have to be very clear on this fact, Mandana, that if any of the person seeing this, if they're experiencing symptoms of depression for more than 2 weeks, they definitely need to have serious medical help. Because if you're depressed for more than 2 weeks, that's not okay. You definitely need advanced help. But for people before this stage, like if like you said that if we meet people every day, because let's face it, who can say that they haven't ever felt grief? Everyone feels grief about, like, it can be about anything. So the thing is that when we feel that emotion, whether it's it's sadness, it's guilt, it's confusion, all attached with this grief that we are feeling. When we feel that these emotions are so overpowering that we are not being able to function properly,
Mm.
then I think help is needed. Then I think that's the right time when they need to be coached by someone. Because here's what happens: if you are not coached for your grief early on, you can become depressed later.
Yeah.
Like this
There's a
journey
consequence.
from, so what did you say? Sorry.
As a change, as a process, like it's like you are
Exactly.
addressing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is coaching can help early on.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you have to reach that stage where you become so depressed that you have to seek severe, serious medical
Yeah.
help, or maybe be prescribed drugs or all? There are things, there are actions that you can take in your daily life if you're grieving that can definitely improve your quality of life and help you navigate this process, help you get in touch with yourself, and get a better hold of your emotions. So this is where coaching comes in, and
Understand
I
your
believe
own
that
emotions.
coaching.
I think understanding your own emotions, like
Exactly,
being
exactly,
honest about it.
exactly,
I feel like,
exactly.
as you said, there is a need for a safe space, and I do feel we in an environment sometimes don't find that safe space, even if it's family or friends. We because they're also grieving, so their reactions can be very intense, and it's not like they will understand what you're feeling, and you will understand what they're feeling. क्योंकि जब दो लोग सिमिलर एक ही घर में दोनों ही ग्रीव कर रहे हैं तो फिर it must be very difficult to process it together. So उस वक्त I think safe space का होना, or a coach का होना, or somebody who can guide you to process the emotion and understand those emotions would really help, because I feel like we don't talk about these things at all. We don't talk about loss. We don't talk about even if they're good and bad memories. Like it's something that is not a practice, a general practice. Let's see. Hope things change. So, okay. So, what has been the most challenging part of your work as far as grief coaching is concerned?
Yeah, the thing is that, Mandana, just like you were saying, I think the answer to this question is an extension of what you were just saying. That what I feel is that I have personally met so many people who don't realize that if they get help, if they seek someone's support, it will actually be beneficial for them. But I don't know why people are resistant to getting help, to reaching out, to being coached or being, I don't know, helped in this journey. This is the thing where I feel for these people, that
Mm.
this is something that they're oblivious of, you know? So, and here comes the part that I think we are at, is spreading awareness.
Yes.
As as many people know about the concept, more and more people are going to experience it. Then, of course, they can share their experience and spread the word out. This is an interesting concept. This is something that can really be life changing for someone who's going through such a difficult time. So this is really one thing that I feel that maybe. I mean, I am trying to think ways, and like your workshop is one of the things that, this is how people will get awareness that there is a concept, there is something, there is a system that is in there, where which by reaching out to which you can definitely get good outcome of the whole process if you let it be, if you allow it, if you embrace it. That's basically the thing. And one other thing is that. The other little challenge that I have felt is that maintaining my own emotional well-being also has been kind of challenging. But early on, it was like pretty challenging. But now I feel that when I talk to my clients, their grief resonates with my own. So learning to balance empathy with self-care has been a part of my journey.
Beautiful.
And another stigma around grief is that, again, like I mentioned earlier, that people need the pressure to be strong.
Yeah.
This should not be the case. We all need to loosen up. As a society, we need to allow people to be,
To feel.
allow people to allow people to process their emotions for as long as it takes.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful how I the whole point of this workshop and the idea behind it was to bring people that awareness, to make them see that there are other ways of handling things, that we don't have that kind of fear or things attached to it, or dogmas attached to it. So there's no judgment happening, there's no blame happening, there's this freedom that you can come and express yourself, or just to yourself. Like, you don't have to share, but you can write, you can communicate, you can talk about it freely. And thank you, Meher. It is a pleasure having you. I hope we can have a lot of these things again and again, and continue on this journey, and heal our own emotions, be in that safe space with each other, and find people who are also lost and are looking for places like this. It will be a beautiful experience. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.